Eddie is a liar. Time and time again since the inception of the COD Zombie storyline all the way back in World at War, we've had this phrase, albeit Teddy before, hammered into our heads. And yet, after multiple secret plans, grand schemes, and big betrayals, here we are yet again, walking headlong into the ending of a zombies game under Richtofen's orders. Could we be getting set up yet again for another big Richtofen betrayal? Or is the twist that this twist we expect isn't coming? Janus Richtofen's motivation to save his family seems to set him apart from all of the other Richtofens that have come before. And maybe he is genuinely just trying to save his family. Is Richtofen being honest with the crew and us by proxy? Could Panos' contact even be another, different alternate version of Richtofen, like discussed in prior videos? And are we on the precipice of a Richtofen versus Richtofen standoff? And where exactly is Black Ops 6's ending going to leave us? I'll attempt to answer all of those questions and more by the end of this video, so stay tuned so you don't miss anything. With the end of Shattered Vale now behind us, we are beginning to get a clearer look at exactly what Janus Towers is going to be like. But one thing that is also becoming a bit clearer is what after Janus Towers looks like. I think in looking at many of the individual pieces, we've lost sight of the bigger picture and how all of this is going to play into the stuff we saw in Modern Warfare Zombies, as well as what we didn't see. Eddie Richtofen, despite our theories otherwise, never made any appearances in Modern Warfare Zombies and was not directly referenced as a figure with direct involvement in the storyline, beyond the files that Ava Jansen dug up on Project Janus. Nor were Samuel or Mary Richtofen referenced. Not just in the game's 2020 settings though, as to be fair, Richtofen would be close to 70 at the time, but rather even in the August 5th 1996 tape that Ava finds from Grey, as a farewell recording to her. We see the device that would come to hold the vials of Requiem's essence soon behind her on the table, and she seems to be very aware of their incoming fate. She says, "We are dying and I can't do what I need to do without trying to talk to you." She mentions that they chose Ravenov to stay behind because they know they are all infected by exposure to the dark ether, and that is why they are dying. In essence, no pun intended, I think this is her simplifying their situation. They are so Ethereum exposed that their bodies are breaking down, becoming a danger to the world, and making them now the dark ether's biggest chance to breach again. Living time bombs of an outbreak. Which is why their vials that Zakhaev throws are enough to start an outbreak once again. So instead, they choose to have their essence removed by this machine. But what is interesting here for our discussion today is, Richtofen is nowhere to be found. While Ravenov's dialogue implies he was responsible for the birth of Ava, to some degree, by 1996 he is seemingly no longer active in the picture. It makes sense he wouldn't need to give up his own essence because we hear that Janus employees are inoculated against Ethereum exposure with injections.
I'd give this recording a proper number, but it's gotten so bad I've lost track. Ever since that last round of Ethereum exposure inoculations, my memory's been going shit. One of the doctors told me I should document my days, see if it gets better or worse. Considering I can't recall the basic protocol I put in place, I'd say it's not getting better. I've always had a steel trap memory. Now something falls out of my head every day like it was never there. It's fucking scary. Most recently, the damn lock code of Nathan's containment unit's been slipping my mind. Poor fucking kid. Fuck this place. Then fuck her. I got a reminder system for all 3 digits. I see them every day on my normal rounds, so it shouldn't raise suspicion. We've got tons of dangerous shit in here. If I crack up, I'm done. Worse people are gonna get hurt. I can't sleep. I'm scared. I'm gonna wake up and not know who the hell I am. I need my transfer request approved now. Being here is like putting my brain in a paper shredder.
So this gives us a pretty decent reference for their last known contact with Richtofen. If he helps to form Ava with Ravenov plus Samantha's DNA, and she is currently 3 years old as of Gray recording the tape in August 1996, then we can establish the following. Ava was born 3 years prior to 1996 in 1993, and Gray would have to have started the pregnancy around 9 months earlier if she was full term, putting the likely point of contact in late 1992 or early 1993. Why that date sticks out so much is because of the fact that every Black Ops 6 Zombies map so far has been in 1991. Relatively early in 1991, in fact, to be specific. The entire game has fallen within February of 1991, and considering the characters are walking right over to Janus Towers after the ending of Shattered Veil, literally on its doorstep, we can pretty confidently assume that will be the same day, or at least very close, as Shattered Veil. Maybe even that night, so that it could have some different lighting compared to the prior two Liberty Falls maps. Altogether, this, in combination with the time frame for the creation of Ava, means that Richtofen is not only definitely or probably going to survive the ending of Black Ops 6, he is going to remain somewhat friendly with and in contact with the Requiem crew for around a year or two afterwards. This almost guarantees us that we will not see a betrayal, at least from this Richtofen. Let's take a sidestep for a moment. Since Liberty Falls dropped, we've been digging into who Dr. Pericles Panos is communicating with in the Dark Ether. You can check out some of my videos I've made on this topic linked on screen and in the description, but I will not shell them here. His dialogue gave us key criteria. The contact must have gone to university, spent a long time in the Dark Ether, known Richtofen to some sort of personal level without hating him per se, had friends outside the Dark Ether, been smart enough to help build the SDG machine, and powerful enough to assist Panos in taking out the other Janus scientists. At launch, Samantha Maxis was the top suspect. She fit perfectly. Having studied at Heidelberg University, trapped in the Dark Ether since Cold War, a complicated history with Richtofen, and friends like Weaver and the Terminus crew on the outside. We also considered Sam, an AI version of Samantha, possibly using Zykov's mimic powers to manipulate Panos into securing the Sentinel artifact to build herself a body, pretending to be the real Samantha. Other long shots included Ultimus Richtofen and Zykov himself, but they didn't quite add up at the time, and I only threw them into the discussion because they weren't a 0% chance and it was throwing out all of the odds. Then the Shattered Veil intel changed everything, which I'll play for you now.
He came to me again, my friend, my benefactor, my salvation. Time is strange in this place. A moment ago, I was in the church. A moment ago, he was here with me. In another moment, who knows? Like the director, he came with promises, power, forbidden knowledge, a reckoning for my enemies. But unlike the director, his mastery of the Dark Ether is real. And what's more, he promised me a way out. When I return to the world, I will be his agent. The future he speaks of, the one we will fashion together. I can hardly wait. In only a moment, we begin.
Panos' new line, "He came to me again, my friend, my benefactor," revealed the contact is a male, ruling out Samantha and the Sam AI. This contact also has a real mastery over the Dark Ether, promising Panos power, knowledge, and escape, making Panos his agent in the real world. This left us with two main candidates. First, the Shadowsmith leader from the Modern Warfare Zombies ending, a powerful, ancient Dark Ether entity with a shadowy, hat-wearing figure. Their mastery fits, but the university requirement is a stretch unless they were once a human, possibly from the Ether multiverse, which led to speculation they could be the Shadow Man himself, given the age, power, and manipulative nature. That's a topic I've delved a lot into because there is a lot of evidence it could be the Shadow Man. Definitely check that out on screen and in the description after you're done with this video. But now with more context, I'm actually starting to lead to the potentially other strongest candidate being a new version of Richtofen, the one we know WHO is coming in COD 2025. A supposed younger version than Ultimus but older than Primus. This was an idea that I floated out before, but I was leaning to the Shadowsmiths and or the Shadow Man at the time. But I do think this alternative Richtofen idea has a lot of credence as well. He checks every box. He likely attended Heidelberg University, like the other iterations from the multiverse, has extensive Dark Ether knowledge from projects like the Dark Mechanism in Blood of the Dead, and shares a unique history with himself and this alternative version, Eddie Janus Richtofen, that isn't necessarily hatred. He would just be aware of his own dangerous and obsessive nature. His intelligence and experience make him capable of designing the SDG, and his power could easily support Panos against the other Janus scientists. The friends Panos is tasked to find could be the new original characters crew set to appear in 2025, tying this mystery directly to the next game, Black Ops 7 whatever it's called. Plus, Panos' actions, like stealing souls and running off in Liberty Falls, mirror Primus Richtofen's moves in Shadows of Evil, stealing the summoning key from the Keepers, dooming the Shadows of Evil crew to the Apothecon overlords, much like the Strike team get left there doomed, trapped in the Dark Ether, with Panos not having any care in the world because it doesn't make up a part of his greater plan that he is working for this entity, much like Primus Richtofen was working for a better tomorrow in attempting to save the multiverse. In actuality, he was just perpetuating it, and all of this doom and suffering he caused was essentially for nothing and happened over and over and over again. Could this visual parallel be intentional? Could this new Richtofen be manipulating Panos to set the stage for his own return? What if Black Ops 6 does still have a big Richtofen betrayal waiting for us at the end of the story, but this time the trick is that it's not even the Richtofen we were expecting. If Panos' contact the entire time has been Richtofen, one stuck in potentially some kind of liminal space from the prior multiverse, like I've explored in many prior videos, it could explain tons of questions we currently have. If it is a Richtofen stuck in a liminal space, we know how he still manages to exist after Tag the Torrent ending, in spite of Primus and Ultimus being purged and dying. He is simply a copy of a Richtofen from just one of that infinite multiverse from a specific point in time, preserved inside said liminal space. This way, the original characters returning would not undo their deaths because they would simply be shards of Tempest, fragments of time from the old multiverse. And the Shadowsmiths may want to use their souls as the epicenter due to their bonding with the long since destroyed elemental shard to catapult the multiverse back into existence by harvesting their essence, similar to the Sentinel artifact rituals we complete in each of the liminal spaces on Shadowvale. And this also helps explain exactly how the original characters could be coming back in a non-contrived way that makes sense and doesn't undo what happened before. Because the Tom Henderson Insider Gaming article and playtester leak spoiled the return of the original characters for COD 2025 Zombies, we've all known for some time it was coming. I think in doing this though, we've actually taken for granted the fact that the story is going to have to do something to allow for that story, to allow for this to happen. And if they are the characters we play as in the new Call of Duty this year, I would think whatever explains their existence would have to happen first. It could be that we get a Liberty Falls-esque map that is shorter in story and simply explains how they come to be while playing as unnamed operators, which has been heavily speculated about a DLC 5 epilogue map. But considering how short the turnover time is between Black Ops 6 and COD 2025, I don't think they're going to have time for two completely different launch maps, especially since it's been leaked that Dead Ops Arcade is set to return. Dead Ops Arcade 4, as you know, we get a Dead Ops map every other Black Ops title, so that already would give us two launch experiences, which I guess is the same as what we got with Cold War Zombies, which was made on a tight crunch, which seemingly Black Ops 7 is probably going to be under similar scrutiny and pressure. This leaves the burden of explaining the existence of these new characters specifically up to Janus Towers, meaning we might literally just be one map until seeing the OG crew back. How exciting and unfathomable is that? It's all come rushing so quickly. And while for a long time I've not really had any logical way of working out how it could happen in my head, and I've had many different theories, for the first time this year I have an answer that feels solid, like it's currently being set up, and like it might even happen. So my proposal is this. The person that Panos is talking to is indeed Richtofen from COD 2025, but also the Shadow Smiths. I think both guesses could be correct. I think that this new Richtofen is working with the Shadow Smiths, but is the one communicating with Panos, thus solving the weird problem with the quote about going to university, but also having to be some kind of ancient dark ether creature. And the Shadow Smiths are letting Richtofen be this agent because they need him. We know from the COD 2025 leaks that the essence of the original characters is required to restore the multiverse. It's why this villain character, Warden, which is probably one and the same as the Shadow Smiths, is in pursuit of them at all. So, 2025 Richtofen is, at this time, going along with his plan. He is helping the Shadow Smiths manipulate Panos and put him in place for their return. But, at the last second, we will get that classic Richtofen betrayal. But I believe not from the Janus Richtofen betraying the Terminus crew. No. Rather, it will be this new Richtofen betraying the Shadow Smiths. Instead of allowing them to fully manifest, he will use whatever they have Panos do, probably with the Sentinel artifact, to instead revive himself from the liminal space, as well as the rest of the original characters. Why does this work? Outside of the hints we have narratively that this might happen, this checks a lot of the boxes of things that simply need to happen for the future of the game to come to pass. We would get an introduction to the Shadow Smiths, specifically setting them up as creatures of extreme power that we narrowly escape only thanks to the betrayal of one of their comrades. This leaves us in a place of what are we going to do if they come back, which is exactly the headspace that the characters need to be in for setting up a future villain. Just look at how the Forsaken appears in Mauer Toten, but narrowly is stopped before getting here, only to be the real villain next map. I believe we could be seeing the same thing on the scale of an entire game. Alternatively, we might see the opposite play out. The Shadow Smiths betray Richtofen, or Richtofen and the Shadow Smiths betray Panos. In the intel, he says that he was told by whoever he's speaking to that he needs to burn for it with his body and soul. He will likely have to commit some sacrifice for whoever is speaking to him has planned. This also explains the return of the original characters, and actually makes sense with the current universe we have. Somehow restoring them from liminal space copies, using whatever very long plan the Shadow Smiths have been cooking up for hundreds of years at Liberty Falls, also makes this incredible backstory for this location make sense. These rituals with natives and Shem hundreds of years ago existed to set up this location for whatever their ultimate plan for Janus Towers is. Although I'm not sure how Cortifex ties in with everything going on with the Shadow Smiths. And Richtofen is going to hijack this method to instead facilitate his own return. It feels like a very Richtofen thing to do, and also make sure this is a one-time only thing. The amount of time and power it would be to set it up again would be nearly impossible. It also sets up the new Richtofen to be very much like the old one, Ultimus that is. Someone with a mysterious past and history with the dark forces we will be going up against. In much of the same way the characters didn't know about Ultimus Richtofen, his connection to the Shadow Man when he touched the MPD, or his real plans, but he always had an air of mystery and evil about him. This new Richtofen's unexplained history with the Warden and the Shadow Smiths could set him up for a very similar character vibe. It also gives them room to explore this history and his motivations in COD 2025. This basically sets up this new Richtofen to be a new Richtofen with the pragmatism of Primus with the devious past and ties to evil that Ultimus Richtofen had. A version of the character full of new mysteries to explore inside of COD 2025. This is how I think it's all going to connect. The finale will feature a surprise betrayal from Panos' new ally, the COD 2025 Richtofen. This sets the Shadow Smiths back in their invasion, and sets up for a large-scale battle between the newly reformed original characters with the Requiem crew fighting side by side against the Shadow Smiths. Also, potentially even featuring Ava Jansen pulled in from the future. Or maybe that's going to be saved for the end of the game or the future. Only time will tell. Now that we've seen that liminal spaces warp space-time and can allow people to travel into these moments, it's not a reach of logic to imagine Ava was simply pulled into the same or a different liminal space. This would explain why we see the mansion in the background of the mirror. Liberty Falls itself becomes the liminal space, and it's why it's black and white, a figment from the past. But what do you think? Does this work as well as I feel like it does, or do you feel I've gone off on some tangential deep end here? I think this new information on Panos PANOS' contact has sent me down multiple rabbit holes worth of discussion now, and I think I'm finally looking at it in the picture of everything we already knew, giving me an entirely different understanding on the potential ending here. I'm especially drawn to the ether reactors melting down in Janus Towers, and it's somehow taking all of Liberty Falls into a liminal space, or the dark ether itself, considering the fact we see the mansion is exactly as it looks in the 90s, in the mirror that Ava is pulled into. But what do you think? Who do you think is the likely candidate for PANOS' contact? Do you think it's just the Shadow Smiths, there's nothing more to it? Do you think it's the Shadow Man? If so, do you think the Shadow Man is a Shadow Smith? Do you think it's an alternate version of Richtofen? Or do you think it's a merger of many ideas, such as Richtofen working for the Shadow Smith / Shadow Man, or the Shadow Man working for the Shadow Smiths, etc.? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Or do you think it's someone entirely different that I've not even theorized? I've seen some people saying it could be Zykov the Forsaken. I don't think that's the case though, because I do think he's basically dead now, brain dead, powering the SAM AI. Maybe there's some degree of conscience left within, but I don't think they're going to make him the big bad again, because it would just feel kind of repetitive. I think if we are successful in defeating the SAM AI, that's going to be the Forsaken done with at the exact same time, because they're one and the same entity. Two birds with one stone. And the Forsaken is just mimicking Samantha Maxis, combined with some of Janus's technology, to form what we know as S.A.M. But who else could this mysterious contact be if it ends up being none of these? I'd love to hear your ideas. Maybe it's going to be a shock reveal, someone that we've never heard before, but it definitely probably has to tie in with the Shadow Smiths and Modern Warfare Zombies and COD 2025, and why the original characters are returning, whoever it ends up being. Anyways, thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and bye.